this, the moment you become friendly with what is. That's all. To become friendly with what is, no matter what form this is takes. It's going to change anyway, quite soon. And people who are stuck for years are usually stuck because there is a resistance pattern inside them that keeps them stuck in the same situation. And the resistance pattern says, I want to get out of this dreadful place that I'm in. And every day they go to the office and they say, this is... And the same energy is there, the negativity and the resistance, and every time they answer the phone, then, yes! And so you get some people, traditionally it's people at government offices who carry a lot of frustration. I don't know if that's still true, probably is. They're everywhere these days. And so you people are continuously, and they say, why am I stuck in this boring job with all these dreadful people? They always want something from me. And so 25 years later, they're still stuck and complaining. And then they hear the message, it is possible to live differently. It is possible to say yes, not say yes to a story, not say yes to, okay, I might as well accept that I've spent 25 years in this dreadful office and I'm probably going to spend another 10 years in this dreadful office. I might as well say yes to that because I read that in a book somewhere. No. This has nothing to do. This has nothing to do with bringing a yes to some kind of story about your life. Or if you were in prison, to say, okay, I might as well accept that everything has failed in my life, and I've been in here for 20 years, and I've got to do another 15 years, and I might as well accept that I've been a miserable failure. Nothing. Saying yes to the present moment only means the present moment, not a story. It means it takes you out of the story. And that is vital in your spiritual life now, as a spiritual practice, as often as possible, to break the continuity between past and future. Okay, I'm coming from there and I'm going there, I'm just busy trying to get there and getting this done. I'm on my way there, don't stop me now. And break, okay, but what about this moment? Where are you at this moment? This moment? Oh. And suddenly you wake up out of that stream of past future that was pulled you from past to future. Always, that is old conditioning, same old thing, same old thing. No matter how much you complain, the more you're stuck. And suddenly you take the present moment out of the story, and you wake up and suddenly alertness comes. For example, you might hear the bird singing. Oh. And you realize it's beautiful. And you feel yourself breathing. And you feel an aliveness in the body. Every cell is alive with the life that you are, that which animates the body. And as you feel that aliveness, you're also aware that there's a stillness around you. And in that stillness, there's this incredibly beautiful sound that this little being produces, which is a celebration of life every moment. You've stepped out of the story into the aliveness of the present moment. And yet, you can still deal with things. You may still be walking wherever you have to go. And when you arrive there, you're there and confront another human being. You can still be present. So there's more and more presence rather than time. it's reversing, whereas before you were dominated by time. Now you use time still, but allow presence in, which means break the story as often as you can. Step out into the aliveness of this moment, and then a far greater intelligence comes in, and love and joy, all the things that otherwise you can only think about but never experience. All those suddenly come in and transform even the story. Not that the story is ever going to be continuously wonderful in the level of form. Forms always come and go. But because you're not dependent anymore on the forms of your life, the circumstances of your life, you have accessed the life that is beyond form, that is you. The stillness, the aliveness, the I am, that is deeper than I am this or I am that. And then all the beauty and aliveness and joy that is there in the moment, even if the forms were crumbling, it can be there. You would be missing the whole thing because you would be drifting continuously adrift in the mind only. And the bird, you would not even hear it, or hear it for a moment and say, oh, that's pretty, and then, okay, my problems, what are my problems? Whenever you think you have problems, a good question is, what is the problem now? Well, I'm trying to see my lawyer about this thing, and there's a bank, I'm going bankrupt, and I'm seeing my lawyer about, what is the problem now? There's no problem. I'm sitting here, breathing. Beautiful bird song. Stillness, space. There's an aliveness that I feel inside. Every cell is alive. There isn't really a problem now. But there may be one tomorrow. And of course, when tomorrow comes, you have to ask the same question. What is the problem now? As you sit in front of the lawyer, say, sign here to declare your bankruptcy. You say, okay, what is the problem now? Here's a piece of paper, and here's a pen scratching on a piece of paper. And then you put it down, and you listen to the bird, and see the tree and the flower, and feel the aliveness within, and say, I'm still alive. So you don't need the idea, I am a bankrupt person, to give you your sense of self anymore. Because your sense of self, it comes from the life that you are, the aliveness of your very being, and then, yes, on the level of form, it happens that I had to declare bankruptcy. I'm still breathing, and the bird is still singing. And 1 million people before me have survived that. And this is just one example, a more extreme example. A friend of mine, Byron Katie, spiritual teacher, was visiting a woman in hospital who had advanced cancer. And she came into her room, hospital room, and the woman was, of course, very unhappy. And Byron Katie said to her, I don't see a problem. And the woman got even more unhappy. And she said, You don't see a problem, I'll show you a problem. And she took off her blanket and showed her right leg was 2 or 3 times the size of her left leg. This is a problem. And Byron Katie said, oh, so your problem is that you think your right leg should be the same size as your left leg. And in that moment, the woman laughed for the first time in a long time. She laughed because she dissociated from the thought form. She stepped out of thought which judged this form as wrong, which judged the present moment as wrong, should not be. She was trapped in the thought form, this should not be. Invested with a sense of self. And so, the stepping out is vital for you. The story has a momentum that will reassert itself again and again, because that is the momentum of the mind. And I'm not saying that you no longer deal with things in your daily life. You deal with them much more effectively when you have access to the deeper dimension where true intelligence resides. That can then flow even into the way in which you deal with things on the level of form. So even on the level of your story, the story will unfold more harmoniously when you no longer demand that it should make you happy or do anything for you. Then you can truly honor this level of form, because the neediness is gone, because you're not looking to it anymore to give you a sense of who you are, because who you are comes out of the aliveness and depths of this moment. And so to step out of the story and into this moment as much as you can is vital. Always, okay, just a second, where's the now? Especially when you get upset, you lose yourself in some thought movement. Or you can help others if you have an agreement with your partner or friend, and when you can see that they are losing themselves in thought, which almost certainly is going to be a world of problems. It's not that they are solving problems by thinking, they're creating problems by thinking. To solve, the true solutions always come when you, for a moment, you step out of thinking and become truly intelligent by becoming still and present and alive. And then, if thought should come back, often, a little later, you suddenly have a creative insight that before wasn't there. It came because that dimension operated in your life. And then it comes more and more. And then everything changes. Your relationships change because you don't demand that the other person should do something for me, enhance my sense of self. You don't compare yourself to others and try to be more than another to strengthen your sense of self. It's fine to allow everyone to be as they are. And you don't need to change them to say, you should behave differently and then I'll be happy. If you behave differently, you will make me happy. But in the meantime, I'm going to be very unhappy. And I'm going to show you that I'm unhappy, so that you behave differently and then finally make me happy. And many relationships work like that. The partners show each other they're very unhappy because they want to change in their behavior. And of course, by their unhappiness, they strengthen the same pattern. And so, especially in this beautiful place here, don't pollute the garden of Findhorn and be a walking story here that is heavy. Your steps become heavy. And where a walking story steps, no grass grows again. And so humanity has that is collectively how humanity is on the planet now. A great heaviness has descended on the planet, and that is the collective human mind, with its accumulated enormous amount of negativity and dreadful delusion. And that's the heaviness that weighs heavily on nature also. And life forms, all life forms, feel that pain. So here, step lightly. Don't carry the burden of personal selfhood around with you, which is your past and your problematic future. But be light, take one step at a time, and be the presence through which you perceive. Be there with every step. And when you perceive the tree, the flower, you're able to perceive against the background of stillness. So you're not creating a barrier of concepts between nature and yourself. A oneness, a field of oneness arises between nature and yourself. And then nature will be extremely helpful. It's teaching you to be one with life, to be still. Just go to any tree and see how still it is. And the moment you notice how still and alive and surrendered to life the tree is, that in you which notices that is the stillness. Otherwise you wouldn't even see that there's stillness there. If you approach it only with thought, you would have some kind of personal thing to do with nature. Oh, that tree, that would be great in my garden. And don't feel guilty if that thought crossed your mind. Or even more, the wanting to pick a flower, don't do it here, but you know, also why I must have that. It's mine now. Even on that level, the personal self can come in, or it comes in, oh, that looks like a tree that my Aunt Mary had 10 years ago in her garden. I wonder if it's still there. And she was a strange person, wasn't she? But to be truly present there as you're a field of aware presence walking, and then it may happen that in addition to the beauty that you see around you, and walk sometimes and give some attention to perhaps a tree or flower for a little while, just be with it. Without no wanting, nothing, just being with it. And then you may notice there's a form. You may notice in the background the presence that you are, the light of consciousness in which this tree appears. The presence, the stillness that you are, as the background to whatever you perceive. Birdsong, trees, flowers. different noises in nature. And so there's that which appears, the form, and that which is the space that enables this form to appear, which is the space of yourself, the space of now, the space of consciousness, the one consciousness, the light of consciousness in which forms appear. So that is, and even here, as you sit here, you can sense that in the foreground there's this room, there's the voice, the shapes and colors. And yet, what is it that makes all this possible? To be. The being itself, before it becomes something. That is the one life, the one consciousness that you are underneath the form. So you are in two dimensions, one could say, at the same time. The formless and form. And this is your practice in nature. Nature is not challenging. You can stay present easily with a tree or a flower. Human beings are more challenging. And so they pull you quickly into identification again with form, with thought, reaction. Because most humans still come from thought. They are thought entities. And they want you to contribute to their universe.